Hello and welcome to End of the Line. Today we're going to be talking about the Billington E2s. So let's get right into it. Around 1910, the Stroudley E1s, which is the locomotive you see on screen, were becoming outdated for the fastly evolving railway of the London, Brighton, and South Coast Railway. By that time, the railway's locomotive engineer, Douglas Marsh, had a plan to modify them into E1X locomotives, all because they were becoming outdated. Only one E1 by that time was turned into an E1X by the time of Marsh's surprise retirement in 1911. After Marsh's retirement, Lawson Billington, whose father was already the locomotive engineer of the Albion SCR before him, was brought in as the company's locomotive engineer. With Billington's arrival came changes to the E1X plan, and instead he designed a new class, the E2s, which were designed for shunting and light goods work. Here on the screen is number 100, the first of the class, built in 1913, and saw action in Victoria stations and other parts of the Albion SCR's line. Most as did most of the other 10 class members. There were a few problems with the E2s, as they had small coal bunkers and water tanks, meaning that the light goods work they were designed for they were very rarely seen doing. But that didn't stop the Albion SCR. They ended up putting two engines on trial with the push-pull trains in 1913. In 1914, I mean. Sorry for the mess up. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, is a train where the steam engine or DMU can be controlled from the other side of the train. But those were put to a stop in 1914, the same year that they were started. Once again, to their poor coal capacity. By 1915, a modification was done to the E2s, to tackle the water problem, where the side tanks were extended, and they were able to handle light goods work, but still at a limited capacity. But in 1924, the Albion SCR was absorbed into the Southern Railway, as you see on the side tanks, during the grouping, where the Big Four railway companies, the LNER, GWR, LMS, and the Southern Railway, as you see there, all became incorporated. With that change, the E2s were put to the side as the Southern Railways attempted electrification, meaning that they were put in shunting roles, and also replacing the London, Chatham, and Dover Railway's T-class locomotive, which meant starting a new shunting location at Dover Harbor. But by the Second World War, they were seen all over shunting yards on the Southern Railway, but that was soon to change. In 1948, nationalization occurred, where all Big Four railway companies and the Southern Railway became the British Railways network. The E2s were relocated to Southampton docks in the mid-50s. By this time, it was astonishing that these pretty much defective locomotives had lasted this long. Although handling well, their big 11-foot wheelbase did not prove well around the short, tight corners of Southampton docks. They were eventually outclassed and overtaken in performance by the American S-100 shunters that were sent over during the war effort, and the Austerity 060 saddle tanks, that looked very similar to the LNER J94 tanks. But unfortunately, in 1963, Dr. Beeching's modernization report on the reshaping and dieselization of British Britain's railway network was published and put into action. So that meant the final straw for the E2s, which had already started to have been withdrawn in 1961. The final E2, number 109, as you see on screen, was withdrawn in April 1963. If you're a railway enthusiast, I think you know where I'm going. The E2s live on in modern day as the basis for the very popular children's show and book series Thomas the Tank Engine and the Railway series. That's the end of my video. I hope to make more of these short locomotive essays explaining extinct and living classes of steam and diesel locomotives. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing. It really helps.